family carries secrets, but in Heartland, those secrets can shake not just the family, but the land itself. Season 19 isn't just another chapter. It is a storm waiting to break. Old wounds, silent fears, and unspoken truths now rise to the surface, threatening to tear apart the Bartlett-Fleming legacy. The question is, will this family's love hold them together, or will the cracks finally split them apart? The Bartlett-Fleming family has always been the beating heart of Heartland. For nearly 2 decades, we have watched them endure losses, rebuild dreams, and fight for one another when the world tried to tear them down. But as Season 19 begins, the sense of balance they once held feels more fragile than ever. This is not the peaceful Heartland we remember. It is a family standing at the edge of change, caught between the weight of their past and the uncertainty of their future. At the center of it all stands Amy Fleming. Her journey has always been about carrying her mother's dream, finding her voice with horses, and healing others even as she battled her own pain. But now, the silence of Ty's absence lingers heavier than before. Amy is no longer just the girl who whispers to horses. She is a mother, a guide, and the soul of a family that depends on her steady hand. Every decision she makes ripples outward, shaping Lindy's future, Lou's stability, and Jack's hope for legacy. Yet beneath her strength, Amy is haunted by a question she cannot escape. How do you keep healing others when your own scars still ache? Her daughter Lindy is growing fast, curious, and unafraid to ask the questions Amy has avoided for years. Lindy doesn't just want to ride horses, she wants to understand who she is in a family that carries so much history. Already, whispers of a gift like her mother's are beginning to show, but with that gift comes responsibility and expectation. Amy knows that protecting her daughter means more than teaching her about horses. It means preparing her for the heavy weight of the Heartland name. But how do you protect a child from a burden that has followed your family for generations? Meanwhile, Jack Bartlett, the patriarch who has carried Heartland through storms of grief and loss, finds himself facing a battle he cannot simply ride through. Time has slowed his steps. His body no longer answers with the same strength it once did. And the ranch he loves now feels like a test he can't always win. For a man like Jack, admitting weakness feels like betrayal. But in Season 19, his greatest challenge is not fighting to keep Heartland alive. It is learning to let go without losing himself. Trusting Amy, Lou, and the younger generation to carry the torch is harder than any physical labor he has ever done. Because when you've been the mountain of a family, how do you accept the moment when the mountain begins to crumble? Lou Fleming, balancing her role as mother, business leader, and mayor, walks into Season 19 with the heaviest load of all. She has always been the one to hold everything together, the planner who fixes problems before they destroy the family. But behind her strong face lies exhaustion that she refuses to admit. Lou's journey this season isn't about politics or business. It's about identity. Can she finally find balance between the woman she is expected to be and the woman she longs to be? Or will the weight of responsibility crush her spirit before she ever discovers her own freedom? And then there's Katie. No longer the little girl hiding behind her family's legacy, she begins to carve her own identity, even if it clashes with the path her mother has envisioned for her. Katie's rebellion isn't just about teenage defiance, it is about wanting to define herself outside of the shadows of Lou, Jack, and Amy. For the first time, the Bartlett-Fleming family must face a truth they've ignored. The younger generation will not be shaped by tradition alone. They will shape Heartland in their own way, whether the older ones are ready for it or not. This is where the turbulence begins. A family once united by loss and resilience now stands divided by silence, change, and unspoken fears. The bond that has carried them for 18 seasons is about to be tested like never before. Because in Season 19, Heartland isn't just a story about love and horses, it is a story about survival. Not survival against outside enemies, but survival against the battles inside their own hearts. And as the storm builds, one truth becomes clear. Not every legacy survives the weight of time. Every storm begins quietly, with small ripples that grow into waves. For the Bartlett-Flemings, those ripples begin with Amy. In Season 19, she finds herself at a crossroads more personal than ever before. The ranch has always been her anchor, but now it feels like a chain. Every sunrise brings the same routines: horses to heel, fences to mend, and a family to guide. Yet in the silence of the night, Amy feels the weight of her own unspoken questions. How long can she carry everyone else's pain while ignoring her own? And if she lets go, even for a moment, will the whole family fall apart? Amy's bond with the horses has always been her gift, but in this season, even that bond is tested. A new way of training, a younger generation of horse handlers, and the pressure to adapt to a changing world challenge her deeply. For years, she has trusted her instincts, the quiet whisper that allowed her to see what others could not. But now doubt creeps in. What if her way is no longer enough? What if the world has moved past her, leaving her behind like an echo of an older time? This fear cuts deeper than anything else because Amy is not just fighting for the ranch. She is fighting for her very identity. At the same time, Lindy becomes the mirror Amy cannot ignore. Bright-eyed and fearless, Lindy begins to show signs of her own rare connection with horses. It should bring Amy joy, but instead it terrifies her. The thought of her daughter carrying the same burdens, the same heartbreak, fills her with dread. Amy knows what it costs to live with such a gift, the sleepless nights, the endless sacrifices, the loneliness of carrying other people's pain. She wants to protect Lindy, but how do you protect a child from the very legacy that defines your family? In season 19, Amy's greatest challenge may not come from the ranch or outsiders, but from the choice to let her daughter walk her own path, even if it leads to heartbreak. Jack, meanwhile, feels the cracks of time pressing harder. He has always been the unshakable mountain of the family, but now even mountains erode. His back aches, his hands grow stiff, and his breath is shorter than before. These small reminders eat away at him, because Jack has never been just a grandfather. He has been the protector, the shield, the one who never bends. In season 19, Jack faces the hardest truth of all. He cannot protect his family forever. Watching Amy, Lou, Katie, and Lindy step into roles he once carried alone both comforts him and terrifies him. Because if they no longer need his strength, who is Jack Bartlett without Heartland resting on his shoulders? His struggle is more than physical. It is emotional. He looks across the ranch and sees change in every corner. Lou runs the business with her own rules. Katie questions traditions he once held sacred, and Amy considers choices that blur the lines between old and new. Jack wants to believe that letting go is not the same as giving up, but for a man who built his life on endurance, surrender feels like defeat. Season 19 asks Jack to face the hardest lesson he has ever learned, that sometimes true strength is not in holding on, but in passing the torch and trusting others to carry it. For Lou, the turbulence grows heavier with every responsibility piled onto her shoulders. She is the sister who fixes problems, the leader who runs the ranch, the mayor who serves her town, and the mother who is expected to guide Katie and Lindy. But where is Lou in all of this? For years, she has sacrificed her own happiness for everyone else's survival, but in season 19, those sacrifices begin to cut too deep. She finds herself questioning not only her choices, but her identity. Is she truly leading her family, or is she just running from the truth that she cannot do it all? Her daughter Katie only sharpens this conflict. No longer content to follow rules, Katie pushes back against the expectations her mother has set. She doesn't want to be defined by the Fleming name or the Bartlett legacy. She wants freedom. This rebellion strikes at Lou's deepest fear, that her daughter will choose a future without Heartland in it. Their clash becomes more than just mother and daughter. It becomes a symbol of the family's greater struggle. Can tradition survive when the next generation demands independence? Or will holding too tightly only drive them farther away? As these tensions grow, the family's unity begins to shake. Conversations turn sharper, silences grow heavier, and trust becomes harder to hold. The Bartlett-Flemings have always risen above storms by standing together. But in season 19, the storm comes from within. The turbulence is not just about land, or horses, or outsiders. It is about whether love and loyalty are enough when the future pulls each of them in different directions. And as the season unfolds, the family must face the truth. Some battles cannot be fought with strength alone. They must be fought with honesty, courage, and the willingness to face the pain they've been avoiding for far too long. The Bartlett-Fleming family has always been held together by invisible threads of loyalty, tradition, and love. But in season 19, those very threads begin to fray. The ranch, once the heart of unity, becomes the stage for growing tensions that no one can ignore. Jack, the patriarch who has always been the voice of wisdom and calm, finds himself questioning whether his lessons of resilience have truly been understood. He watches as the younger generation begins to carve out paths that don't always align with the old ways, and the weight of preserving Heartland's legacy becomes heavier with each passing day. Amy, still carrying the scars of her past, is torn between her healing gift and the demands of a world that constantly pushes her forward. She knows that Heartland has always been more than just a ranch. It has been a sanctuary, a place where broken souls, both human and horse, found a way to mend. But the pressure on her shoulders grows when whispers of change sweep through the family. Can she continue to carry the torch of the Fleming spirit when the future of the ranch feels uncertain? Or will she be forced to make choices that risk dividing her from those she loves most? Lou, ever ambitious, stands at another crossroad in her journey. The mayor's chair gave her authority and responsibility, but it also demanded sacrifices she never imagined. In this new season, her vision for the community collides with her responsibility to Heartland. She longs to prove that she can balance both, yet deep down, she fears losing herself in the process. Her decisions ripple through the family, creating cracks that others struggle to ignore. Each choice she makes feels like a step closer to progress, or a step away from the traditions that Jack has spent his life protecting. Katie, no longer the little girl in the background, steps into her own light this season. Her coming-of-age story is not a gentle one. It's full of questions, doubts, and rebellion. She seeks independence, but her path is anything but simple. The pressure of being Lou's daughter, of growing up under the weight of Heartland's legacy, pushes her to test boundaries. For Jack and Amy, this is a difficult awakening, watching Katie grow into her own woman while fearing the mistakes she might make. Her struggle becomes a mirror for the entire family, an echo of their own battles between freedom and responsibility. And then there is Lindy, whose innocence is slowly being touched by the world's harsher realities. She has inherited her parents' spirit, but also their burdens. As she learns more about her father's past and the sacrifices Amy has made, her childhood is marked by a quiet understanding beyond her years. In Lindy, we see the future of Heartland, uncertain yet full of promise, fragile yet resilient. Her journey becomes the most delicate thread of all, one that could bind the family together or unravel their unity if the weight of expectations grows too heavy. This season does not simply show us the Bartlett-Flemings living side by side. It forces us to witness their fractures. Old wounds resurface, new disagreements emerge, and love itself is tested in ways they never imagined. At the center of it all lies a single question. Can a family survive when every member begins to pull in a different direction? Heartland Season 19 dares to suggest that even the strongest bonds must be reforged in fire, and not all who enter will remain unchanged. The Bartlett-Fleming family may live in the present, but in Season 19, the past refuses to let go. Ghosts of memory, loss, and regret walk alongside them, reminding each member that the choices made long ago still shape the future that lies ahead. The silence of the ranch carries echoes. Ty's absence, Marion's teachings, and even the sacrifices Jack made as a young man. These shadows become impossible to ignore, and they demand answers that no one is truly prepared to give. For Amy, the weight of Ty's memory grows heavier. Every corner of Heartland reminds her of the love they shared and the dreams they once built together. While she has found strength in raising Lindy, a part of her remains caught between moving forward and holding on. Season 19 confronts her with a painful reality. Healing others does not always heal oneself. The horses she rescues and trains become mirrors, reflecting her own struggle to break free from grief while honoring what was lost. Amy knows she must redefine her place in the world, but the path ahead is filled with emotional storms she cannot control. Jack, meanwhile, feels the slow march of time pressing harder than ever. The ranch is his life's work, his legacy, and yet he wonders what will remain when he can no longer guide it. He sees the cracks between Amy, Lou, Katie, and the rest of the family, and the thought of leaving them unprepared keeps him awake at night. Jack's wisdom has always been a lantern in the dark, but even lanterns burn low. In this season, his greatest challenge is not taming horses or running the ranch. It is teaching his family how to endure without him. And that, more than anything, terrifies him. Lou faces the haunting reality of choices she once made in the name of ambition. The life she built as mayor, the dreams she fought to protect. All of it now feels like a double-edged sword. Success came with a price, and Heartland often paid it. In Season 19, she is forced to face a painful question. Can a leader truly serve her community without losing her family? And if the answer is no, which will she choose? Her decisions ignite tension. For every step toward progress feels like a step away from the home Jack and Amy fight to protect. Katie's rebellion becomes sharper as she tries to step out of her mother's shadow. In her, we see the mirror of Lou's younger self, determined, stubborn, and unwilling to be caged by expectation. but rebellion comes with consequences. Katie's search for independence could push her into mistakes she cannot undo. Her journey exposes the raw truth that growing up is never gentle. It is forged in conflict, trial, and heartbreak. The family must learn whether to guide her gently or let her stumble in order to grow. And then there is Lindy. The child who once symbolized hope now stands at a fragile edge. She feels the burden of her father's absence, the quiet weight of her mother's sorrow, and the high expectations of the family name. In Lindy, innocence collides with truth. Her story in season 19 is not one of carefree childhood, but of awakening. A young girl beginning to understand the complexity of life, love, and loss. Through her eyes, we see that the Bartlett-Flemings' future is not only uncertain, but fragile, held together by bonds that may not withstand the storms ahead. Season 19 does not shy away from showing us the uncomfortable truth. The past cannot be buried, and the future cannot be delayed. The Bartlett-Flemings must face both at once, walking a line between what was and what must come next. The question that lingers is this: will the shadows of yesterday guide them towards strength, or will they pull the family apart just as tomorrow demands their unity? As Heartland moves deeper into season 19, the Bartlett-Flemings stand at a point where every choice feels like destiny. The ranch, once the anchor of their lives, has now become both a sanctuary and a battlefield. It is where love has blossomed and where heartbreak has left scars, where dreams have been built but also broken. In this new chapter, the question is no longer just about survival, it is about transformation. Can Heartland remain the same place it has always been, or must it evolve into something new to survive the test of time? Amy is at the center of this struggle. She carries the Fleming spirit of compassion and resilience, yet the burden on her shoulders grows heavier than ever. The horses she saves are symbols of healing, but she knows her own wounds are far from closed. Season 19 pushes Amy to a breaking point. She must decide whether her gift is enough to hold the family together, or whether her destiny requires her to step beyond Heartland in ways that could change everything. Her choices ripple outward, touching every life around her, and the family waits in suspense to see which path she will take. Jack faces the same looming reality with quiet dread. For so long, he has been the foundation, the one who carried tradition forward. But now, the shadows of age and mortality force him to question what will remain when he is gone. The ranch may stand strong, but can the family endure without his steady hand? Jack's journey this season is not one of physical battles. It is of preparing the Bartlett-Flemings to carry on without him. And the heartbreaking truth is that even he cannot be sure they are ready. Lou is tested in ways she never expected. Her political ambitions, her devotion to her children, and her loyalty to Heartland collide, leaving her with impossible choices. Can she be both a leader and a daughter? Can she expand her horizons without losing sight of her roots? Season 19 strips away the illusion of balance and forces Lou to confront the cost of every decision she has ever made. For her, the future is both promise and threat. A chance to achieve greatness, but also a risk of losing everything she holds dear. Katie's transformation into adulthood is perhaps the most turbulent of all. No longer the child everyone protects, she now demands to be seen as her own person. But with independence comes rebellion, and with rebellion comes mistakes. Katie's search for identity creates tremors across the family, as her choices reveal how fragile unity truly is. Through her, the audience sees a reflection of what it means to grow up in the shadow of a powerful legacy and the cost of breaking free. And Lindy, the youngest of them all, becomes the quiet soul who carries their future. She may not yet understand the full weight of her family's struggles, but she feels them deeply. Her innocence is laced with wisdom beyond her years, and in her laughter and tears, we see the fragile thread of hope that binds the Bartlett-Flemings together. Lindy's presence is both a reminder of the past and a promise of what could still be. Season 19 of Heartland does not simply tell a story, it asks questions that cut to the core of love, family, and identity. How do you honor the past while stepping into the future? How do you hold on when everything around you is changing? And most of all, how do you keep a family whole when the very bonds that unite you are the same ones that threaten to tear you apart? The Bartlett-Flemings' journey ahead is not peaceful, nor is it simple. It is turbulent, it is emotional, and it is filled with choices that will redefine who they are. One thing is certain. By the end of this season, Heartland will never be the same again. The Bartlett-Flemings have weathered storms before, but season 19 is unlike anything we've seen. It is not just a story of horses or ranch life or even family. It is a story of what it means to stand at the edge of change when yesterday's comfort no longer guarantees tomorrow's peace. Heartland has always been more than a place. It is a heartbeat, a living memory, a bond that refuses to break. Yet now, that bond faces its greatest test. Amy must confront her grief and her gift. Jack must face the truth of time. Lou must decide whether ambition and home can walk the same path. Katie must find her own identity, even if it means breaking away. And Lindy, innocent yet perceptive, must grow into the future that waits for her, carrying both the blessings and burdens of her family name. Each one of them stands on uncertain ground, and the choices they make will shape not only their lives, but the very soul of Heartland. But perhaps that is the beauty of this story, the reminder that family is not about perfection, but about persistence. Even when they clash, even when they break apart, even when silence weighs heavier than words, the Bartlett-Flemings continue to come back to each other. Season 19 reminds us that love does not erase struggle. It survives through it. And though shadows of the past linger and the future feels fragile, there is still hope shining on the horizon. For the fans, this season is not just entertainment, it is an invitation. An invitation to feel, to remember, to walk with the Bartlett-Flemings as they face heartbreak, resilience, and change. It asks us to reflect on our own lives, on the families we build, the choices we make, and the bonds we fight to protect. Because in the end, Heartland has never been just their story. It has always been ours too. So as season 19 unfolds, one truth remains certain. No matter how turbulent the journey, the spirit of Heartland endures. And through every triumph, every heartbreak, and every uncertain tomorrow, we are reminded why this family continues to capture our hearts. The story is far from over, because legacies, like love, are eternal.